Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner Daily Technical Update. It is the 11th of December and I just have to point out that this is for educational purpose only. There's no advice whatsoever or recommendation whatsoever in this. But today we'll start with Google or Alphabet. This is the Alphabet C share, and it has to be said I am a shareholder, and this was just as a spoiler alert or a disclaimer. It closed much higher yesterday, going against the overall trend across the markets, because most markets were a little bit down yesterday. We're in a correction phase, but Alphabet C jumped higher and closed above resistance here at 185.12 and has resumed uptrend very strongly. RSI back above 60 threshold. It was never in the negative sentiment, so it did indicate we could jump higher, and we did so. And on the weekly, also bullish sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, and we are indicating here that Alphabet could push higher and make new all-time highs. Whether it will happen before year end or into New Year is hard to say, of course, but it could very well happen before or occur before year end, and then we could reach 200 possibly. On the overall market, we have S&P 500. S&P 500 that is now in a corrective phase. Could test 6,000. We talked about it yesterday. Could possibly dip a little bit lower, below 6,000. Let's see about that. Just a minor divergence on the RSI. We can see that this peak here was just a tad higher. Let's just move that one up there. We can see that is a little bit higher than this one, corresponding to this one and this one. So just a little bit of divergence, indicating that we are in for a correction, but I still think we will push higher towards year end, but we are usually having a little bit of correction after the Thanksgiving holidays. This time it's a little bit later than usual. The Nasdaq 100 also in correction phase, could drop down to around 21,000. I don't think it will get all the way down to 20,896, but I shouldn't rule it out. No divergence on the RSI, and it is indicating likely higher levels later on. And the Dow Jones index is at currently closed yesterday at the 38.2 retracement at 44,256. Could drop lower below 44,000, but then I think buyers will come back in and lift it. Seng in Asia had a fairly bad day also this morning after yesterday's, where it couldn't hold on after opening much higher, and another percent down, and it seems like we are going to close just on, or maybe just below the cloud area here. A little bit of support at 19,924, but we are likely to resume downtrend, and RSI got rejected at 60 threshold, and this bearish candle here, it doesn't really speak well for the Hang Seng index, and so it seems like we are resuming a downtrend on the Hong Kong market. On the European market, we have Euro stocks also in correction phase after being rejected around 5,000 resistance. I think we'll see it setting back to around 4,900, and then I think we will see a bounce. Positive sentiment on the RSI, indicating that we are likely to resume uptrend pre-market. Not really much to talk about, currently unchanged, but you can see it actually formed the top of a reversal pattern right here with doji evening pattern. We have this spike up here, this doji, and correction is in the cards. And if we add the Fibonacci just to the levels down there, we could see it dropping low. I would actually move this one and not have it, I'll have it there, because that was actually the real move. So 48.90 to that level, we could see it having a correction down there, and then a bounce. And also here on DAX, expect a correction, could take it down to just below 20,000, and then I think we'll see also a bounce back to resume uptrend. There is a positive sentiment on the RSI, so indicating likely higher levels later on. Pre-market, we are basically unchanged, but also here potential down to around 20,000. CAC 40 is really not doing well. It did last week pushed higher, but rejected at 75.11. Rejecting this gap. It didn't close above, so it didn't close the gap really. Now we are back below, closed well below yesterday, and could resume downtrend if it takes out 73.41 once again. Well, then expect bearish trend. However, there is a positive sentiment on the RSI, so maybe we could later on have another go to close this gap area. On euro dollar, I think it will cancel this inverted shoulder-head-shoulder pattern. It hasn't been confirmed. It needs to close above the upper falling trend line here, and it needs to close to further confirm it above 106.10, and it hasn't done that. It actually spiked a little bit above, but it didn't close well. I think we'll see it canceling shoulder-to-shoulder pattern, and if it does close below, break below 104.60 and does close below that, well then it will be cancelled, and we can remove all these lines here. I think we can already now remove the arrows. So I'll still just keep it on there because you never know, but I don't think it will happen. I think we'll see it breaking back lower on euro dollar with potential down to 103, 102.40. The sterling dollar cable starts sliding lower here, and I think if we move back below 127, it will resume downtrend, and it already indicating that there's no divergence on the RSI. It is in a negative sentiment. It only got up to around 50, and if it moves back below 40, then selling pressure could increase and push it lower. If it takes out the spike up there at 128.12, we could see a further move up to the 786 retracement at 129.28, but I don't think that scenario will play out. We have euro sterling. Euro sterling broke finally below 82.70. We talked about it yesterday and over the past few days actually that that was a key level. It seems, despite spiking below a couple of times, now it really broken below the falling trend line. We are at 82.30. But there is potential lower, and if we're looking at the weekly chart, and it's always a good idea just to step back a little bit, 82.30, that was that spike down there, but the spike down there to 82 even seems to be in the card, and I think we'll reach that. We could possibly reach it even lower levels if it takes out 82. Well, then we're looking at 81 level. Moving on to the yen pairs, dollar yen spiked above the 38.2 retracement and just touched the 200 moving average. That is giving it a hard time. It really needs to close above that. And I don't think it will happen. I actually think we will see dollar yen resuming downtrend if it moves back below 151.45. I think that will occur. We are still above the cloud, however, but negative sentiment on the RSI, declining 100 moving average, but the 55 is moving higher, so that is giving a little bit of hope to move higher, but I think we will slide lower here in the coming days, and we could be caught range bound around 150 level. If it takes out 149.40 once again, I don't think I will wait until the 148.64 to be taken out. I think if we take out 149.40, the downtrend will resume with potential lower than below the cloud, and 147.20 to be tested. I think it will turn around. However, if it takes out the high sale from yesterday at 152.19.20, then expect to push up to around 153.65, maybe even resuming uptrend. Euro yen is already sliding lower. The bounce is faltering. Almost got up to the 38.2, 160. It was actually 160 just spot on, and I think we'll see now resuming downtrend to push lower and could reach 155 here in the coming weeks. The Aussie yen is also sliding back, and if it takes out 95.50, then expect to move down to around 93.65. So keep an eye on that level. On sterling yen sterling yen is hitting the 50%, which is an unusual level to reach without moving all the way up to 61.8 retracement. It could still do that. There's still room for the RSI to get up to the 60 threshold and then be rejected. And we have the 200 and the 55 moving average just around the just below here. So we could see a spike up before the sterling yen to resume downtrend or retrace lower. If it takes out 192.50, I think we'll see it resuming downtrend with potential lower in the coming days and weeks, especially if it moves back below the cloud area. Aussie dollar going through the 63.60 support, not the strongest support apparently. And if we're looking at the weekly, we can see what's going down there. It's actually testing these lows here, and that's where we had some support from. I think we could see it push lower. We have a negative sentiment on the RSI. There's a little bit divergence on the daily RSI, but I think we will see it push lower. And if we get the RSI to push lower below the rising trend line here, I think we'll see Aussie dollar down to around 62.5, 61.80 maybe also. So quite heavy there on the Aussie dollar. Euro Swiss is sorry. I was a little bit ahead there. Dollar Canada it is. Dollar Canada pushing higher, and we can see how here on the weekly chart that where it's going to this area here between well potential all the way up to 146. Well, we'll get there. It's probably debatable, especially this year. But here on the weekly chart, we are in a fairly strong uptrend. There is a bit divergence on the RSI, but we could push higher in the coming weeks. But be aware there could be a bit of a setback before next move. 161.8 projection at 142.16. I think that is likely to be reached before we see a correction, but we see all the moving averages are pointing to higher levels. Sterling Canada is also very strong uptrend and no divergence on the RSI, and it is in a positive sentiment indicating likely higher levels, and it could take out the peak here at 181.51 and then push higher towards 183, possibly higher. But we have the we should see a little bit of correction before that. I think we'll see a little bit of a setback, and then it will push higher to totally demolish this picture. We need it to get back below 179. And now we get to a Euro Swiss that once again has bounced from the 92.70 support. It dipped below once again yesterday. Kind of formed a bottom, a reversal pattern. It's not really a good one because it actually was lower over here, but we have the spike low. So I think we'll have another go at the 92.70, but there seems to be very strong interest here between 92.50 and 92.70. However, I think we'll still see Euro Swiss sliding lower in coming weeks, but for now it's just it can't really get its act together. However, if it starts bouncing even further, and if it gets above, and I think actually I will add that horizontal line there. So if it gets above 93.30, I think we'll see it testing the rising trend line in this triangle-like pattern here, trying to get back in. And we see this is a symmetrical triangle. It's probably it seems like it's a continuation pattern, and it should indicate we are pushing much lower on Euro Swiss in the going into the end of the year and also into the new year. On the dollar Swiss is slowly bouncing back here, and today this morning it is bouncing and breaking above the falling trend line, breaking bullish out of this falling channel-like pattern in a correction phase after the breakout of the rising wedge here. And I think we'll see it test the 61.8 retracement at 88.71 fairly shortly. Could happen today. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, and if it moves back above 60 threshold, it will further confirm the bounce with potential higher for dollar Swiss, possibly also all the way up to 89. And let's see what happened there. But it could then resume uptrend, and then we can forget about this rising wedge-like pattern here. On the dollar index, it is also bouncing, and if it takes out 106.73, and then we are back in bullish sentiment and bullish trend. We can see that on the RSI. Oops, sorry about that. The RSI will be back above 60. It's actually knocking on it at the moment, testing it currently. If it get back above 106.73, well, then expect a move higher. And I think actually we will get higher on the dollar index and take out the 108 here eventually. For the dollar index to resume downtrend, it needs to take out 105.40. Gold had a good day yesterday, went through the 61.8 retracement after being rejected at first take, and now we are at the 786, just around 2700. I think we'll move higher, but we need the RSI to get back above 60 threshold, close above that for higher levels. If it does that, which I believe will happen, but it's no guarantee and it's no advice whatsoever, then I think we'll see gold moving back above the cloud and back above this peak here at 27.22. And then we are back in full bullish trend with the potential higher towards 3,000 next year, which I think we'll see. To demolish that picture completely, we'll need to move back below 2,600. Then we suddenly have a different situation. The silver got rejected at the 50% of this downtrend here. It still has formed this double bottom-like pattern. It is confirmed. It's trying to destroy it by testing the support here at 31.53. RSI was rejected at 60 threshold, so it's still struggling a little bit. However, if it takes out that spike up there yesterday at 32.30, then we are likely to push higher towards 33. Copper failed to stay above 430, got rejected here at the 55. That is currently breaking below the 200, but it's not a death cross since the 200 is rising, but it's still a resistance just here around the 61.8 retracement, 430.5. If it moves back above that level again and takes out that spike up there yesterday at 432, expect a move up to 440 and possibly also way up to 450. But for now it's struggling, and it didn't get above the 60 threshold, so I actually got rejected. So I expect it to slide lower here in the coming days. Could we see a setback to around 420? But it is slowly trying to build an uptrend, so I think it will come eventually, but not this time around. On the energy market, it is the same picture that it's been for quite some time. So still 66.72 support on the WTI, and it is 70 on the Brent crude oil. On the Dutch TTF gas. Well, it hasn't yet closed this gap down here to 43.96, which is a key support level. If we do close below that, well, then we could see further selling pressure. If we move back below, back above 45.86, I think we'll see uptrend to resume. So those are the levels you should keep an eye on. We still have this double top pattern like unfolding, but key is still, will it close this gap or not? On the Henry Hub gas, that moved a little bit higher here in the early trading, and could resume uptrend if we get the RSI back above 60 threshold. Then I think we'll see US Henry Hub gas pushing higher towards 356 and also possibly higher. And when we are talking about commodities, I just want to touch a little bit on the cocoa. We talked about it for quite some time. We also talked about cocoa, but we see here it is actually back in a massive bullish trend after this correction move here, broken above the falling trend line, broken above 9,851. We talked about it a few weeks ago, and I think we'll see it pushing higher towards previous peak, and could actually also take it out, because the interesting thing is, despite this massive overbought here back in back in Q2 on the RSI, very close to 100 is the highest I ever seen. There's no divergence on the RSI, indicating we could see much higher levels on cocoa. And here's the other contract, the London contract. So also pushing higher, as we can see here, and no divergence on the RSI, indicating cocoa could push much higher in the coming weeks. Just as a side note, the coffee contract is also pushing higher, all-time highs actually, and could push higher short-term a little bit corrective and divergence, but there is potential higher also for coffee. On the interest side, yields, US Treasury 10-year yields, if it moves back above 4.25 and the RSI back above the falling trend line here, then I think we'll see US 10-year resuming uptrend. First little obstacle here is around 4.27, but 4.32, and then we are in full-blown resuming uptrend with potential higher. Could it take out the previous peak here at 450? That is the key strong resistance that is should be observed if we get up there. If it takes out 412 here, the lows here from a few days ago, well, then we could see it pushing lower towards 4%. The 2-year is also bouncing a little bit. It could bounce up to the 415 at this is the 38.2 retracement. If it moves back above 420, we will also see it back in bullish trend. RSI still bouncing from the 40 threshold, and it could indicate we could bounce further. On the EuroBund future, EuroBond future is in a corrective move, could slide lower to 135.22 at the 61.8 retracement, but if it takes out 136.50, well, then there's potential higher, as we can see here on the weekly, potential up to 134.84. The UK gilts in a corrective mode at the moment, and it is now back below 95.36. And if it slides back below further the 95, which I believe it will, we can see it resuming downtrend. And here also on the weekly, we are still in a negative trend, negative sentiment, no divergence, indicating we could push lower. So maybe that was it, and it didn't get all the way up to the 786 retracement, just below 97, and it rejected a cloud, rejected 55 moving average. I think we'll slide lower in the coming days, despite still showing positive sentiment. I think we'll see it sliding lower in the coming days and weeks. Bitcoin is still a little bit indecisive. What should it do? I mean, we are in an uptrend, but the RSI moved back below 60 threshold, back below this rising trend line here. We could see a test of the key support here at 90,680. I have drawn this little trend line here. It's not the strongest one. Let's see if it actually materializes, meaning that if it will actually test that and then bounce back higher. We're still in bull trades, but keep an eye on that level there, or support level. The Ethereum support here at 3,500, 3,446. This support area here is key. Could bounce from that. If it bounces higher towards 4,100 and takes down that, well, then we are looking at higher levels, but we could see a correction lower if it takes out this support area. All right, that's all for today. And remember, this is only educational videos. It is no recommendation or advice whatsoever. Have a nice day.